Welcome to Making Over Mondays. This podcast has been arranged in an attempt to be able to build you up so that you can go build up others throughout the rest of the week. That is my goal. That is the goal as Jessica builds, is I want to continue to build and build you up. A little bit about my background is that I have a lot of very creative and artistic people in my family, between my grandparents and my parents. When I was growing up, and Mom will attest to this, I witnessed and was able to really go through the process of fixing up houses. We started with a townhouse that my parents bought, and then went through the process of flipping that house and rolling over the equity from that house to a little bigger house and a bigger house. So even before HGTV was thought on television, we were participating in real estate and fixing things up. I think it's ingrained in who I am to want to see potential in something and fix it up and then see the benefit. There's nothing, for me, there's nothing that makes me more excited than getting to see a really good makeover, right? I don't know who doesn't love a good makeover, but before and afters. I know I certainly would do it with my dolls. I would do it with furniture. I can remember growing up in California here. We have lots of land, and in our land there's a lot of dust when you live in California where it doesn't rain very much. And I can remember being a child as a little girl taking sticks, and in the dust we would make rooms in the dust, like this is the bedroom and this is the kitchen and this is the living room. And then we would basically do is we were making architectural plans. We were making floor plans. I was making floor plans in the dirt. And I would even draw the little doorway where you would walk through, and we would have these little dirt houses. And so in the dirt houses, we would build and have a lot of fun just creating, and where was the couch going to go and where was the kitchen going to go. And so being able to build, being able to create, being able to see something go from needing attention to receiving attention, and then what that reception of that attention produces. I think that as a mother, that to me just gives me nothing but pure joy. I think as a designer, as a person who wants to leave an impact, the Boy Scouts have a mantra that says, leave someplace better than where you found it. So being able to go into a place and then leave it better than you found it, that's been the goal. That's been what has been driving me in just pretty much everything. It's how I see things. I see things in a way that there's always going to be potential. And is there a way that I can make this place, this space, whatever it is, a 10 by 10 or even smaller, my purse, is there a way that I can leave this space better than I found it? So with that, as the lead up to today's episode, I would like to talk today and have a discussion with you about body and nutrition. I do believe that we are all God-breathed works of art. I believe that we all have potential. I believe in the word that says our body's a temple. I believe that when we put good things in, we will have good things come out, that we are an amazing organic organism that is a machine. It's an organic machine that thrives on good food. It thrives on water. It thrives on being able to take what we put into it, receive as work to keep the good things, and then dispel and get rid of the bad things. And you can take that for mental health. You can take that for physical health. You can take that for being able to just be healthy in general. Whatever we bring in, our body's going to work. And we can choose to have it work really, really hard, or we can make on our own bodies easy burden and an easy yoke and a light burden. And what I mean by that is when we put good things in, well, when we put something in our body, because I do believe that food is food, fuel is fuel, whether it's that there's really no good food and there's really no bad food. Chocolate isn't necessarily good or bad. Fat isn't necessarily good or bad, but it's how hard is our body going to work to excrete the things that it can benefit from out of that food, and the things that is not necessary, because that's what the body will do. If you take a food and you put it in your body, if you take a strawberry, let's take, for example, a strawberry. I'm sorry if you're allergic to strawberries, but in this case, if you take a strawberry and you put it in your body is going to take the work that is required through all your organs and through your blood cells and everything. And it's going to pull out from that strawberry what it needs. And then what it doesn't need, it's going to get rid of. That's the way the body works. That's the way your system works. And in the case of a strawberry, high water content, it's got fiber, it's got a lot of good stuff in it, vitamins. It's not very processed, especially if you're getting an organic strawberry. Your body doesn't have to work very hard. Your body's going to be living on easy street processing that strawberry. Okay. But if you then take a chili cheese dog or something that's got lots and lots of processing has had to happen to it in order for it to become a food item, more than just grinding, but additives in order for it to have a long shelf life, with, like, in case in point, like, potato chips or some kind of corn chip or something, the kind. I don't want to throw any brands under the bus. But if you take something like those products that have been created to have a very long shelf life on the shelf, and you put that into your body's going to have to work really, really hard to find in that food something that it can keep, something that it can benefit from. And in that process of it working really, really, really hard to try to find something good, will it excrete all of the bad stuff? It'll try, but more often than not, there's a lot of really sticky molecules and sticky pieces that come with those preserved foods, and that will stick to you, and then that becomes, that turns into fat, and that turns into cholesterol and all of those things that end up harming our bodies, because our body's just not very equipped. Our body is set and designed by God, thank God, to look for the good. That's a whole teaching series on its own. Look for the good, right? When your body is geared and designed to look for the good and to keep what is good, Scripture says, think on these things. Whatever is good, whatever is pure, whatever is holy. Your body's no different. Your body is looking for whatever is good, whatever is pure, and whatever is holy. And it will keep that. And it will be happy with that. And you will greatly benefit from that. That is why our number one source of fluid is water. A lot of good, nothing bad, unless you're drinking, maybe tap water, or if you're drinking from a polluted stream, that's not going to be good for you. But pure filtered water is the best fluid for you, because your body doesn't work at all, or very, very little, to process it, and it will keep all of the good. So as we're talking about this, and as we're talking about whatever's good, whatever's pure, whatever's holy, as we're talking about our body, and we're looking at it in terms of food, I showed you my dried mango slices. Then now this is not something that I would typically eat, because it does have a lot of sugar in it, and it is processed. So it's best before, at least it has a best before date of 11/20/23. I got these at church. So thank you guys for providing these. This is a good solution. If you're having to eat on the run and you are out, this is a much better solution. And I am much kinder to myself for having grabbed this than having gone through the drive-through and gotten something that I would have got before I lost 30 pounds, like hamburgers or French fries or something like that. So I'm proud of myself for having selected this, but I'm even more proud of myself that there's still some left in it and that I only took what I needed. I only took until I felt a level of food satisfaction and didn't just eat it for the sake of eating it because it tasted good. And so what I'm looking for in the revelation of how I eat is to be mindful of what's going in my body. I think that for the last 40 years, I'll be turning 47 this January. For the last, as long as I've been conscious of what I've tried to eat, I have eaten from a standpoint of, there have been periods. We go through seasons. We go through seasons where we eat because we're hungry. We go through seasons because we eat because it tastes good. We go through seasons because we eat because we're depressed. We go through seasons where we eat and we don't even know why we're eating, and we just find ourselves eating. So coming into enlightenment, I would say, is the enlightenment of being mindful in our eating. Why are we eating? Are we choosing to eat? Why are we choosing to eat? And then when we do choose to eat, choosing to eat something that is easy for our body to process, easy for our body to pull the good out and to dispel the bad. And a lot of things, the less processing you have on your food, the easier it will be for your body to process it, right? It's pretty simple. The more organic the food, the more natural the food, the more close to the source, they call it whole food, right? So a chicken breast, for example, that's pretty basic. A asparagus, that's basic. When we start adding to it, the question is, are we adding to it? Are we trying to improve it, or is it already good the way that it was originally designed? And if it was already good the way that it was originally designed, then let's just, add a little salt, add a little pepper, add a little oil, olive oil. But we don't need to drown it in hollandaise or béarnaise sauce, as good as that is, and on the occasion that is sometimes what is required. It's not necessary. And how much of a reflection on life do we have on the fact that we just consume so much that is unnecessary, right? Stress, unnecessary. Anxiety, unnecessary. Television content that is just entertaining but not beneficial. I'm not here to preach on a soapbox about what you're going to be consuming on your Labor Day weekend, but is it necessary? And then if we start to just take a grand picture, if we set back and we look at the grand scope of things, right? What are we doing towards the big picture in consuming what is necessary versus consuming what is unnecessary? Now, I happen to believe that a little bit of fat is good for you, that a little bit of salt is good for you, a little bit of sugar is good for you. But is our scale, our balance of unnecessary to necessary, are we weighing heavier on the necessary than the unnecessary, or are we weighing heavier on the unnecessary? Because when we're weighing heavier on the unnecessary, then we just end up becoming unnecessary to society, right? Society needs necessary people. Mother Teresa was necessary for society. Billy Graham was necessary for society. Your neighbor who picks up their grandparent and drives them to all of their appointments, that person is necessary. the world needs necessary people, and we can only be necessary people when we are choosing to put within us and in our hearts that which is necessary, because as a man thinks in his heart, so is he, right? And so we all have areas that we can work on, and we can certainly work on what we're putting in, and we're starting today, and we're talking today about body, and we're talking about nutrition, because what we're really talking about is those are the things that we have, that area, what goes from the table into our mouth, is, unless you're being force fed, completely under our control. Everything that goes from the plate into our mouth that we consume is completely under our control. I would venture to say that we probably have a lot of control over what we hear, but let's get real. There's a lot of times when we can't, we've got people speaking into our lives. If we're married, we have a husband, we have children, or we have a wife and we have children, and we can't always control what they're going to say and what they're going to do, because that's the reality of being in a relationship. But what we can always control is what goes from our plate into our mouth. We have control over what we put in our mouth. We do not always have control of what goes into our ears, and we do not certainly have control of what we see. There are lots of unfortunate times when we're going to see things that we wish we didn't see, that we can never unsee. But we have control of what goes over into our mouth. And so as we have control of what goes into our mouth, and why I'm talking about body and nutrition specifically, is because I feel like I want to be able to equip you to be able to be mindful of what you're consuming, to be able to understand that if my body has a hard time processing something, the more complex something is, my body's going to have a harder time processing it. And it's going to have a harder time determining what is good from what is not beneficial. And so in that determination, it's going to hold on to it's going to hold on to the more complex structure that something has in it. On a molecular level, if something's got a whole bunch of, if something has been engineered to have things the body doesn't recognize, or things that the body cannot process, then it's not going to be able to process it, and you're just going to hold on to it. So the least amount of processing, the better for the body. And then when you consume foods, think about the density of the food and how many calories there are per bite. So if you have something very dense, like say Parmesan cheese is extremely dense, you take one bite of a chunk of Parmesan cheese or even cheddar cheese off of the block, right? And you take a bite. That bite is going to be packed with calories. One bite is going to have a ton of calories. Versus if you eat a grape and you have a grape in your mouth and you take a bite, the grape is predominantly water. And that grape is going to have a low caloric density. And so because it has a low caloric density, you can consume a bunch of grapes. You can consume a whole pallet full of grapes. And you can consume it, and you can ingest it, and you can get fiber, and you can get all the simple things from it. And the body's going to have an easy time processing it. And it's going to be a much more filling feeling to have consumed a pallet of grapes than to have just one bite of cheese, one chunk of cheese. We all love cheese. Why do we love cheese? Because it's salty, because it's savory, because it's fatty, because it feeds our soul. Our soul feels good when it eats cheese. When we're eating grapes, the soul satisfaction may not exactly be there initially, because you're not having that trigger of But I believe that you can condition yourself to understand that eating grapes and being satisfied from grapes because of what they represent, because of what they do for you, because how kind it is to your body, and because you are proving that you eat necessary foods because you too are worthy to be necessary. You too desire to be necessary. You too have value. And what a funny and odd place to be at, to where we would consider being valuable by being grape, right? But grapes are extremely valuable. And God is always using, Scripture is always using in His Word that we are to be like the vine and the branches, and that He is always using agricultural analogies in fruits, and especially in the grapes, for the relationship that we have with God. And it's because it is a very simple way. It is a very simple way to explain a very complicated idea. And that complicated idea is that when we consume the things that are necessary, we are too also necessary, right? You are what you eat. And that is more than just a saying. Because if you eat a bunch of food that is going to give your body a very difficult time, not only aren't you not going to feel good because your body is having such a difficult time, but you're going to be put into a very difficult state of mind. And in that difficult state of mind, you too will become very difficult. So there's a reason why, I think that there's a reason why a lot of people that are prosperous, that are successful, that have figured out how to manage the details of life, have figured out how to manage the details of their plate. And if you don't know about how the body works, and that you need to give it things that are that it can process effectively and easily, if you don't know to eat foods, the majority of your diet, to be calorically undense, in other words, like having per bite a lot of water, a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits, a lot of lean meat, if you don't know to eat like that, then you won't know the tactics on what the decision is. You won't be being mindful before you choose what you are going to eat and how you treat your body. There's a question, and Mom says, how are you eating differently than before your weight loss, and what's an example of daily meals and snacks? Great question. So part of what I'm doing and what I've been doing, what I even started doing before I used an app to do it, was I have a notebook and a pen and a paper. And I write down those things in just an attempt to be more mindful of what it is that I'm eating and what it is that I'm choosing to eat. I write it down, or when I've created the discipline to write down what I'm eating, if I am too tired, if I go, oh my goodness, I don't want to write down what I'm eating, then I'm not going to, but I stay disciplined to writing down what I'm eating. Like, this is a goal, right? Every day, chart what you eat. If that becomes my goal, today I'm going to chart what I eat. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to, if I eat an Oreo, I'm going to write it down. I'm just going to chart what I eat. And I'm going to chart not just what I eat, so not one Oreo necessarily, but like what's in the Oreo. Flour, I don't even know what's in an Oreo, so I wouldn't see. This is how it goes, is that if I wanted to maintain the discipline to write down what I eat, and I want to set my mind to, I'm not just going to write down what I eat, but I'm going to write down everything, every ingredient that is in what I eat. So if a salad has spinach and tomato and grapes and strawberries and all those things in it, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to handful of grape, handful of strawberry. Like, I'm going to write down everything that I eat, because everything has a calorie attached to it. So if I'm tired and I don't want to write it down, I'm just going to pick something simple, because that's the only way that I can make my goal of writing everything down. My goal is not to eat healthy. My goal is not to eat only vegetables. My goal is not to eat only meat. My goal is not to eat keto. My goal is just to write stuff down. And if I am too tired to write down all of the ingredients that are going into something, the answer isn't to not eat, because I am hungry and the body needs fuel, and the body needs to be able to have something to process, because if it doesn't have something to process, it's not going to create energy. So not eating is not an option. But I can decide to eat something simple. I can decide, if I am too tired to write down all of the everything that's going to go into my mouth, I'm going to have an apple. I'm going to have something simple. I'm going to have a cup of broccoli steamed with some lemon juice and some salt and pepper. I can write that down. It's very simple to write it down. Now, if I have a lot more energy, if I'm feeling better, if I've been eating healthier, if I've been, after a couple of days of eating simple food, then I'm going to, I can expend a little more energy in becoming creative, right? I can expend a little more energy. I'm going to maybe I'm going to have a bigger dinner, and I'm going to put a lot more effort into it, and I'm going to have potatoes, and I'm going to put potatoes, and in addition to my potatoes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. But I'm not going to, I'm going to choose what I consume based on the level of the amount of energy that I have to write it down. And that has been helping so much clean up the way that I eat, simplify the way that I eat, because honestly, if something has a lot of processed elements to it, it's not good for my body. It's going to be difficult to process in the interim. My body's going to get confused of what's good and what's bad, and it's going to hold on to a bunch of stuff. The more that something is simple, the more that I can write it down and have it be simple, the better it is for me. My app does count the calories, and I have a target between 1,100 and I think it's 1,600 calories. The particular app that I'm using, which is Noom, it also takes into consideration how many steps I've walked, how much energy I'm releasing. So by the end of the day, I might start out on my app and it might give me, okay, you have a target of 1,200 calories to eat. Like, this is your goal, so to eat within 1,200 calories. And so I put every little ingredient into my app. When I'm tired, I just stick to simple food. When I'm feeling a little more energetic, and I can put it into my app and break it all down, I'll put it into my app. But it will, since it's attached to my watch, and since it's counting and doing my metrics for my energy level, it will go up. So by the end of the day, it might say that I now have 1,600 calories that I've been given allotment to, because it's taking into consideration the amount of calories I'm burning in order to get into that target fat weight zone burning. So I do not count my calories on paper without an app, but I can definitely see the benefit. However, for me, I don't have enough knowledge as to how many calories all the food has, so I would have to have a book that has about all the calories written down, or knowing me, because of the busyness that I have with all of my kids and everything, I would be probably limiting myself to only eating packaged food, because packaged food says on it, how many calories are in it. Now, if I'm in a situation where I'm eating out of packaged food, or I'm using packaged food in my recipes, then I will definitely look at the back when I'm buying it and see how many calories it has in it. And so the fact that I think that I was looking at something the other day, like even just chips. I have to buy chips for my family. My kids eat chips. I eat chips. I take a handful of chips. I'm learning how to just take a bite. That's part of the process. But I'll look at the back, and I'll look at the serving size. And one of the bags of chips that I saw on the shelf was like 150 calories for 17 chips. That's actually fairly decent. Most of the chips, if you pick them up, it'll say like 120 calories for 6 chips. These are not the chips for me. I'm going to put these chips back. But again, it's just going back to being mindful, right? It's going back to choosing. The more natural you eat, the more simple you eat, the better for your body. If you do have to purchase something, the more calories per ounce, or the more calories that you eat and snack on, the more calories that you're going to end up having to consume. So, good question. Another question is about exercise. How much exercise? I went back. I have been in the habit. My son, Andrew, is on a routine 3 days a week to go to the gym. And he is an extremely detailed person. So if he makes a commitment, and he's committed. So if he makes a commitment that he's going to go to the gym 3 days a week, he's going to go to the gym 3 days a week. And if you put on it, we're going to go to the gym at 10 a.m. 3 days a week, we're going to be at the gym at 10 a.m. We're going to at least leave the house at 10 a.m. 3 days a week. So I'm habit pairing. In other words, I am taking his habit and I'm pairing myself onto it. And I'm saying, okay, I'm going to use his discipline and I'm going to create a new habit for myself, which means I'm going to drive him to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going to join the gym that he joined 3 times a week. And I'm going to take him to the gym 3 times a week. And in my discipline to do that, just like my only goal was to write down my food, my only goal was to get to the gym and take a picture in the bathroom at the gym, whether I work out or not, because the hardest part of working out is always putting on your shoes. Once you put on your shoes, the tendency that you're running shoes or whatever, your walking shoes, the tendency to actually move increases, right? It's not going to increase if you put on your flip-flops. It'll increase if you put on your tennis shoes. So I'm habit pairing. I'm taking a habit that's already established and I'm pairing myself to him. So I was looking back at it because when I first started Noom and the weight loss journey, I really wanted to focus on nutrition because I knew that I had gone through so many ideas of different diets, the keto diet, the protein diet, the Atkins diet, oh my gosh, so many different diets that ended up clouding my ability to decipher what was good food to eat and what was bad food. And so I looked back at my pictures because I've been taking a picture out of discipline, taking a picture 3 times a week since I've been taking Andrew. And in the last 27 pounds of weight loss, I've been to the gym 24 times. And that's not very often because I've missed weeks, I've missed days, and I would think, my brain would think, how is this even possible? Because when I go to the gym, those 24 times in the last, let's see, I started in February. So it's been over the last 10 months, right? Or, well, February is the second month. So like 8 or 9 months. I've only been to the gym 24 times. And I've only, in those 24 times, been to the gym for maybe 20 minutes per time. And done a little, do some arms for some weights, do arms and then do a little treadmill and 5 minutes or so treadmill and do some weights. So I was moving. It's not like I wasn't moving, but definitely not. When you think, oh, well, weight loss, I watch Extreme Extreme Makeover, and I watch all these shows and people are losing all this weight and they're they're so aggressive and they're like sweating and they're burning it out. But, you're putting a 200-pound weight loss, you're summing it up in 1 hour. Like, of course they add it. They're not going to show you, the guy sitting in the corner on his phone because he's breaking for 5 minutes. Like you can't, you're only going to see the highlight reel of the 200 pounds of weight loss. So I would say that I'm a very active person already. When I go back into my health app on my phone, I can see that I walk on an average of about 5,000 to 6,000 steps a day already. So the fact that I was gaining weight and the fact that I wasn't actually losing weight because of all the walking I was doing, to me was nutrition based. And so I needed to focus for the first few months on nutrition only. I added the gym later after I started losing weight from just changing the way that I eat. And so because I changed the way that I eat, I knew it was going to be a longer term thing to where I could end up losing weight and keeping it off because I had changed the way that I eat. So the gym has a very little part to do with it. Exercising has a little part to do with it. And as I'm now after the 30 pounds or 27 to 30 pounds of weight loss, I'm realizing I'm going to need to amp up my exercise because my I just need to kick my metabolism in, get it kicked in because I am over 45. And so being over 45, I'm going to need to do something a bit more active. And if I want to continue to lose additional weight, if that makes any sense. And so in that more activeness, I'm just making the decision take more steps. But as being lighter, as being 30 pounds lighter, it's definitely a lot easier to move. And so I'm very thankful that that weight came off. But I would think that even without going to the gym, I would say that I could have probably lost 30 pounds without going to the gym, just by eating differently and being more mindful of the choices that I have made and choosing to not eat calorically dense food and just more water in my food, more fruits, more vegetables. I mean, I've pretty much cut out all dairy and alcohol, and anything that has got empty calories is not necessary. And so that's, I would encourage anybody that I would say that you probably don't have to, make a decision to go crazy and join a gym and be exercise heavy. You just need to be able to eat and have yourself eat good foods and enjoy the foods that you do eat. I'm sure everybody has that vegetable that they actually love. Everybody has I love steamed broccoli. I love steamed broccoli with lemon and salt and pepper. I mean, I could eat that all day, every day. I could eat. So then just eat more of it, right, Jessica? Like that's the self-talk, right? Just eat more of it. I love asparagus. There's nothing like a yummy steamed asparagus. And there's mushrooms, even, grilled mushrooms. I've started, I'll buy the big, heavy grilled mushrooms. And when everybody's eating burger, I'll grill a mushroom. I'll grill that really thick button top, mushroom on the grill, and I'll eat that in my burger. Like, I love vegetables. And I just don't know why I ever allowed myself to get conditioned that, meat was better than vegetables because, no, just eat more vegetables. And if you do like meat, eat some lean meat. But my goodness, if you like vegetables, if you like fruit, where did it ever become that we stopped eating fruits and vegetables because fruits have sugar in them or because vegetables are hard to prepare? Like, no, just if you have a vegetable that you love to eat, start eating vegetables and being okay with that. You can have for dinner the sides. Like you can go to a restaurant and look at their side offerings and just eat sides. You don't have to eat entrees. You can just go for the sides. As we're coming close to 10 o'clock, and I know I started late, so I'll probably go a little bit over. I do have some weight loss goals. Noom has helped me, and the things have helped me that I've been doing to have a goal. My goal is to be on the chart for healthy. My goal is to go from BMI being morbidly obese or obese to healthy, a healthy weight for my figure, for my body type. I just always had the goal that I just want to be, God had a design and plan for me when he created me. He knew exactly what my genes needed to be. He knew what my bone structure needed to be, what my muscles needed to be. He knew what my body needed to be and how much fat I should have on my body. If you look at a child that's developing naturally and is not, is just a healthy kid, they've got a certain amount of body fat ratio that's just like, that kid's, that's a healthy kid. Looks good, healthy kid, growing right, healthy kid. And I've been very fortunate to have some very healthy kids, just healthy kids, right? And so as a healthy adult, I just look like at the excess that I'm carrying on my body, and I don't want to have the excess. I just want to be what the weight and the size that God created me and intended me to be. He clearly intended me to be 5'6". Like I stopped growing. I'm 5'6". So to be 5'6", there's got to be a clearly designed, designated weight for that 5'6" frame with my bone structure, whether I've got medium bones. So with medium bones and 5'6", I'm supposed to be between 150 and 160 pounds. That means that's where that rate is supposed to be. So that's my goal, 150, 160 pounds. Whatever the average 5'6" with my bone structure, my body type, that is where my goal is. That is what I would like to be, is healthy and appropriate for the way that I was created. And so having in Noom and in the psychology of weight loss, they call it your big picture, YBP. What is your big picture? Why are you doing it? And it keeps going back to, why are you doing it? Why do you want to lose weight? Why are you putting yourself through this process of denying yourself and doing. Because if you don't have a clear picture, if you don't have a clear big picture as to why you're doing it, you're never going to do it. You're just going to go back to what feels good and what feels comfortable. My big picture, having the desire to share the gospel, having the desire to be on various different platforms, my mission for my life, my manifest for my life, which started back in 2008 when I was in Bible college, is to hasten the return of Christ in as many platforms as God sees fit to put me in front of. Because I do believe that when Christ returns, it will be the answer to solving everything. It will be the answer to hunger. It'll be the answer to, and that's just something personally that has become, because I've read the scripture that as the word gets preached to every nation, then he will come back, right? So as the word gets out and everybody hears, then he'll be back. And so getting the word out on platforms is my mission. And having the word being out on platforms as my mission, and being able to hear the word get out on various platforms, my mission, my manifest, what do they call those things? My mission statement is to hasten the return of Christ. I want to encourage the rapid return of Christ on as many platforms as he possibly can put me in front of. And that's been something that I have made an agreement with God from the very beginning, that if you put me in front of platforms, that this is my mission, is to hasten the return of Christ. Because when he comes back, then everything will be, like the no more sorrow, no more pain, all of those promises will come to full manifestation. So in that being my big picture, my mission statement for my life is to hasten the return of Christ. Being on platforms means I'm going to have to look at myself. One of those platforms that the Lord has continued to put me in front of is a camera. And getting over myself and having to see myself on camera, I want to be able to preach an uncompromised message. And that uncompromised message means to me not just a uncompromised word, which is, of course, paramount. Can you deliver the word in an uncompromising way? But that also goes in line with my appearance and how I see myself. And if I feel compromised, in other words, if I feel fat or unhappy or depressed or difficult or depressed, again, I said that twice, if I feel like that, then it's going to come across like that. And the best way that I have seen to be able to turn it around is to have a big picture that says that I'm on this weight loss journey and getting fit, so that I can deliver an uncompromised message, both spiritually and physically. And so being able to deliver a message uncompromisingly, which means with full conviction, that means that I'm going to open up my closet and I'm going to know what I can wear, and it's going to be an easy grab for what to wear. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out and I'm going to record on video, and I'm going to have to look back at those videos, messages, and I'm going to be able to see that I can watch them and not feel compromised when I watch them, that I can get confidently behind a microphone and I can get confidently on these various platforms, and I can preach the word of God uncompromisingly because I'm not being consumed with the way that I feel that I might look or the way that I feel that I might be coming across. And so as I get more comfortable in my own skin, and that comfort is coming from weight loss, then I'm having more energy in what I'm being called to do, and I'm able to withstand what I'm being called to do. Billy Graham would go on a crusades, and they would say that he would actually, because it would be night after night, right? He would set up the tent in his crusades, and he would begin preaching the gospel. And as long as people came, they kept the tents up. And there were many times where he would go in, a certain weight, and by the end of it, he will have lost 30 pounds by the end of his crusade. And then he would have to go home and he would have to go back to where he lived, and he would have to rest and recover, and he would actually have to, eat again, and he would have to actually take care of his body, because he wasn't taking care of his body every single crusade, he's giving everything that he's got. And so in order for me to give everything that I've got, in order, my big picture, beyond just going to my temporary goal, which is to be in good shape by November so that I can go to Paris and keep up with my daughter who's in her 20s, the additional goal is to be able to preach the gospel uncompromisingly and to be able to have the energy and to be able to have the ability to stand up and give, leave it all out. Leave it all out. They call it what? Leave it all on the table. Well, I want to be able to leave it all on the altar, and I want to be able to preach an uncompromising message, and I want to be able to have the energy in order to do it. So with that is the body and the nutrition episode today. I am praying that those of you that have been able to witness it live have been blessed by it, and those of you that are been able to tune in and listen via the podcast, that you will be blessed by it, and that you will tell your friends, and that you will share these messages as they come out. This will be edited for YouTube, and it will be edited for audio on Thursday. It should be able to be published. I should have it published by Thursday so that you can have a more easily shareable link, and you won't have to share all the live broadcast drama. Hopefully by episode 3, by next Monday, I will have a better grasp on how exactly to do it. But thanks to Andrew for helping me. Thank you for everybody for being encouraged and for tuning in. And God bless you and have an amazing week. This is a listener-supported podcast, so I appreciate everybody who contributes, both spiritually, physically, and for prayers and financially. You guys are the best. And Jessica loves you. So have an awesome rest of your week. Happy Labor Day, and have some fun grilling up those corn on the cobs. Save me some. Bye. Love you.